just calm down. Just like we're having a conversation, having over a coffee. 3, 2, 1. Hey everyone, Miranda here. So today I have the lovely Shivaun Plozza. Hey. That's the way you say it, isn't it? I got it right? Oh my gosh, thank goodness.
You're one of the very few people to actually get it right first off.
So she is the author of Frankie, this book right here. And today I've got on my Frankie inspired jacket because I'm like, I have to wear it because it's kind of that colour, isn't it?
It is, it's very well matched.
So first off, I guess tell us about your book, plot, characters. What do you think of the front cover as well? I always ask all the authors this.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you about the book first. So it's obviously about a girl called Frankie. And she's a very, very angry young girl, but rightly so, because she was abandoned by her mother when she was only 4 years old, and she's carried that sense of abandonment all her life, and so it means that she's very closed off to people. But she's always been feeling like she's been missing that idea of family. So when a boy turns up claiming to be her half-brother, even though normal Frankie would be, you know, no thanks, not interested, she's actually kind of interested in it, and she kind of gets to know him, but then he vanishes, and she's the only one who cares that he's gone. So she goes on a little bit of a mystery hunt, trying to work out what happened to him, but in the process discovers a few uncomfortable truths about herself and her past.
And there's also another hot character.
There is a very hot character, Nate, yes, a burglar actually, who's a friend of her brother's, and even though they don't like each other very much at the beginning, he's the only person that has some sense of who the brother was and where he might be, so they sort of have to band together to work out what happened.
What do you think of the front cover when this came to you? I love it as well.
I love it so much, yeah. So it's always, I think it's one of the scariest things actually for an author, the front cover, because obviously it's up to the publishing house to decide, and they've got design people and marketing people that have a very clear idea of what a book should look like. So you're always a little bit worried there's going to be something that you don't like. So when the initial designs came through, there was a few different concepts, but this was a concept that I immediately went, yes, this is it. And in-house, they really loved it as well. And so, yeah, it's amazing.
It's so different. And everyone that I've come across that I've spoken to, you know, about this book, always said, what a fantastic cover. It's so eye-catching. And it's different because a lot of covers these days, you don't really get this artistic design up. It's, you know, very bland and kind of modern. This one's just a bit different.
Got an artist to actually create that, so that is Frankie. That was me describing what she looked like.
Really?
We had some sort of concept pictures and stuff, so it is definitely 100% Frankie.
Definitely Frankie. Could I pull off a Frankie? Get the fringe going and the hair.
The funniest thing was one of the first ones, her hair was too neat, and we ended up saying, no, Frankie does not have neat hair. Ruffle it up a bit.
Frankie is probably one of the most honest and relatable characters that I've come across in the book this year. I loved her attitude, even though she was very rebellious. She was awesome, and I loved a lot of the slang that was used in this book. What research did you do for this book? It was based in Collingwood as well, so did you use your own experiences with that area in the book?
I think the character came from, I used to be a school teacher, and I sort of worked in the welfare side of teaching as well. So I definitely came across a lot of young people, girls in particular, that were really, really angry, difficult things going in their lives, not knowing how to actually express that though, and often it was sort of coming out in sort of violent behaviour in the classroom. And we don't really talk about girls and violence very much, but I was seeing it in real life, but I wasn't seeing it in books anywhere. It was all very much middle class, not really big problems. And so I thought, well, that's a real problem, because there's all these girls that I'm meeting and they're not really seeing themselves in literature, because we talk about we need diverse books, but class doesn't often come into that conversation. And I felt that was sort of missing. So that was the inspiration behind the character and why I wanted to create her. And I guess I used my experiences as a teacher and come out with Frankie. But in terms of Collingwood, I've always sort of lived in that area and worked in that area, so it's just been a part of my life. And it's just such a fascinating suburb because it is such a contrast. There is definitely a lot of poverty and homelessness and that sort of stuff. There's also, because it's inner city Melbourne, there's a lot of hipsters and stuff moving in there, and it's sort of just got that contrast. And she's definitely from the old school side of Collingwood. Her family's been there for generations.
The kebab shop. How can we forget the kebab shop?
Street, so, and there's plenty of kebab shops on Smith Street. So so it was just me walking around in the area, just sort of soaking it in and trying to add that sort of colour to to the story.
I felt like I could just get off a bus and just meet Frankie tomorrow. She was just so real in my head. Did you progress her character? So as you were writing, did certain aspects of her personality kind of change, or how did she develop for you?
First draft, I did set out to create this kick-ass sassy girl, but when I read back, I'd actually created someone quite passive and reactive, and I was completely disgusted in myself. So I spent a lot of time really crafting her and making sure that she was reactive, so that she didn't really need anyone else to help her. She was going out and making things happen herself. That was really important. She had a lot of agency, even when things weren't necessarily going right for her, and she didn't have a lot of support, but she sort of created that herself, and that was important, and just worked on ages to develop her voice. And I think where a lot of her personality came from was just because a lot of the story is so dark, and I wanted to counter that with humour, because I think humour is incredibly powerful, and I think a lot of people that grow up with difficult family lives and stuff can actually develop a sort of sense of humour as a bit of a buffer for that. And for her, it is a little bit of a battle armour in a way to keep people away, but it also added a certain kind of lightness to the character in the book that I think it needed, that sort of contrast.
That's a very interesting point to make, because her background's quite dark, and especially her relationship with her mum, and just finding out that she has this brother all of a sudden. You wanted to make her background that dark to begin with in order for her to find that humour in her present day personality?
You sort of look at it and a lot of people go, oh, that's so dark, but you look around and actually it's a lot of people's experience. It's more than you realise that people are sort of going through those sorts of things. And I wanted, to show the absolute depths of where she'd come from in order to show that she was strong enough and intelligent enough to move beyond that and actually create something for herself, because that was really important. So it's not, there's a lot of darkness in it, but for me I actually see it as a very uplifting in a lot of ways, because it is about finding agency within yourself.
Who's your favourite character in Frankie? Because now there's a lot of characters in this book, and they're all very different, but all very wonderful and very relatable. I think my favourite would probably be Frankie.
Yeah.
I do like Vinny.
Yeah.
I think my favourite would probably be Frankie.
Yeah.
I do like Vinny.
Yeah.
She's gorgeous. Who's your favourite?
It's probably a toss-up between Vinny and Cara, and a lot of people love Vinny and say that she's actually kind of a true hero of the story in a lot of ways. But I have a real fondness for Cara, because she's got a lot of similarities to Frankie, but her sense of humour is a little bit different, and she's just got such life, and I think she's a really important person in Frankie's life, and the way that she sort of tethers her. But she's got her own problems, and she's equally has got an equal smart mouth.
Vinny is definitely such a hero, because she raised Frankie when her mother wasn't there. Vinny was the one to fully raise her, and hats off to her. And even though Frankie still keeps stuffing up and mucking up, Vinny's always there for her. So it's just so beautiful to see. I really love Nate.
Yeah,
I love him. I don't know what it is, even though he's, gets himself into all this trouble, there's just something there.
He's similar to Frankie in a lot of ways, because he's someone that's come from a hard background. And when we meet him, he's obviously in a position where he doesn't have a home, and he's having to rob houses and stuff to sustain his life. So he's not in a great position, but how he's different with Frankie, and I think what I really do love about him is actually there's a real openness and a tenderness to him that you see pretty quickly with Frankie. She hides it a lot with her, but you see a little boy sort of having little tantrums like a toddler or something, because he wants to be loved, and you see that a lot in him, and I think that's a really nice contrast in his character.
Xavier, we don't get a lot of him.
No.
But you kind of, through the clues that he leaves, get to know the person that he was. Yeah. Was that intended?
Yeah, and I guess I didn't want him to be too much, because the story's told through Frankie's perspective. I kind of wanted her to get the wrong idea, and the way that when you want someone to be a certain something, and sort of slowly discovering that maybe they weren't that way that you dreamed that they would be, and they're sort of, I guess he's that person that's who Frankie could have been had she spent more time with her mother. But you can't have him start out, being all that dodgy. He needs to be something, a warmth to him that Frankie can be drawn to, only to realise that actually getting out from her mother's life was actually the best thing that ever could have happened to her.
What's your favourite moment? If you could have one favourite moment that you're writing and you just fully immersed in it. What's your favourite moment in the book?
And my favourite moment is probably the moment that was the hardest to write.
Oh.
And the one that still makes me blush and stress out a little bit. It's the kissing scene.
Oh, I love that scene.
It was so hard to write because I'm a bit prudish about those sorts of things.
Yeah.
I'm not really into romance, particularly myself. But the story needed it, and the character, they deserved that moment. So I really struggled with it, and anyone that knows me, when they read the book, really laughed at that moment.
Oh,
Just
really?
the idea of me having to write that, they thought was absolutely hilarious. But I think it was a perfect moment for them, and even though it was hard to get through and hard to write, I actually think it's a great moment. I couldn't write a straight kissing scene. It had to have some humour in there to undercut it.
How do you write? What motivates you? And do you drink tea or coffee? That's what I ask everyone.
For first drafts,
Yep.
I vomit them out. You know, I just, on the page, don't even think about it. It's really terrible writing, but it's just about testing the ideas and the characters and discovering things.
Yes.
I do plan really heavily beforehand, but that first draft, I just let it out and I discover all sorts of things I haven't planned for. And I find that I actually write the first drafts best on like trains and stuff like that, where I've got like a set period of time, like an hour or so on the train, and that sort of that movement, and just I find I can actually focus.
Do you observe people as well?
No, I put my headphones on and I just sort of focus in. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the movement, or it might be that I've only got that period of time and I have to get a certain amount done. It's a very clear start and end thing to do. But I can't draft on trains. I find that really, really difficult. I find, when I get to the drafting process, I need a lot of quiet and my own space. Like most writers, and we don't really talk about this much, but the actual process of writing is really difficult and we hate it. It's really hard work.
You hate it?
I hate it so much. I love it after I've done it, but the actual process, because it's so much up and down, sometimes I'm thinking, this is amazing, I'm a genius, and the rest of the time you're thinking, oh my God, this is awful. Everyone's going to discover I'm a fraud.
Do you look at some of the stuff that you write sometimes and think, oh, it just doesn't suit, I can't put it in? And then other times you look at it and you think, oh, this is actually brilliant, I love it.
That's why I don't throw anything out. I have a little folder where I keep all I call it scraps, and everything I take out, I don't delete it, I put it straight in there, because invariably I will come back and think, oh, actually, no, that was perfect, it was just for the wrong spot. And as for tea or coffee, I've never tasted coffee.
Never tasted coffee?
I don't like anything. No, I don't even like coffee-flavoured chocolates and things like that.
Oh, wow.
But I am a massive tea drinker.
Tea drinker, tea too?
I actually have this brand of chai that I absolutely love. And I think they're called the Original Chai Company. It's a small family-owned business. And they actually make the chai so they have a separate, sounds like a plug, hopefully they send some to me. You have a separate thing that has the black tea in it, and then the spices that they've ground up, and so you can sort of mix and match. And it's this big sort of like, almost like a science experiment where you're sort of cooking on the stove, but actually it's the most amazing chai. It's proper chai.
Wow, that sounds good actually.
So I drink a lot of that.
Did you write Frankie from start to finish, or did you write it from the end?
I write chronologically, but I did, because of how getting her character so wrong at the beginning, I'd focused so much on creating her as a character that at the end I realised the plot I'd originally started with didn't fit her character. She was bigger than the plot I'd created for her. So I had to really tear things apart and sort of rewrite it again, but every time I work on a draft, it is definitely chronological.
Did you read back your book once you wrote it?
Oh yeah.
About
10,000 times. I'm sick of reading it. I haven't read it for probably a good 6 months or so, since the last sort of proofread.
How does that feel as an author, reading back your work?
Well, it's that whole thing of sometimes you read and think, this is actually not bad, and other times you think, I can't let this out in the public, this is awful. And actually the last proofread, right before it was going to print, I really hated it. So I read it thinking, can I just rewrite the whole thing now? No. And my editor's like, no, just calm down. You're just not seeing it properly. And she's right, obviously I wasn't.
What genres interest you apart from YA? And what's your favourite book?
Yeah, so I read a lot of YA, but children's as well. And in terms of adult, I really mainly read crime, probably.
Crime,
I'm a big crime fan.
Good, yeah.
In YA, though, I read all genres, from fantasy to contemporary. And then I read like plays and things like that, because I find they're really good for dialogue, understanding dialogue and things like that. But favourite book would be...
it's always a hard one.
No, it's easy for me. It's
easy.
It's The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That's the book that I read when I was about 14 or so, and that's the book that made me decide I wanted to be a writer, because I just loved it so much and just felt like I want to create worlds and characters like this that people are going to fall in love with, and the way that I fall in love with this book. And I just think Douglas Adams is just an absolute genius. And I do, even though I write in a completely different genre to him, he's sort of science fiction comedy, I read my writing sometimes and I think, oh, that's such a Douglas Adams construction, and I have seen like a lot of influence of him in my writing and stuff, so I'm fine with.
Where is Frankie available? Where can you purchase it?
Everywhere, actually, which totally surprised me. The first time someone sent me a picture of it in the airport, I almost freaked out because I'd never expected my book to be in an airport. Big stores like Big W and Target and things like that, but it's also in the chain stores like Dimmicks. They've been really supportive, and then all the independents and stuff all over the place. So, and online, Booktopia.
Online as well.
Yeah,
Booktopia.
So pretty much you can't miss Frankie. She's everywhere.
Can't miss Frankie. She's everywhere. She's out of Collingwood, and she's just
actually
everywhere.
I don't think there is a bookstore in Collingwood, unfortunately, so she's not actually in Collingwood.
I should put her there somehow.
Just stand on the street, just sell her.
You know those free little library pens or something, and pop Frankie in
I need
there?
to organise them actually. She needs to be in Collingwood.
She needs to be in Collingwood.
Yeah, definitely.
For the location actually in Collingwood, I wanted to ask you, is there actually a kebab place that you based it off?
No.
No.
There definitely does to be a divide between the trendy end of Smith Street and the non-trendy end. So she's definitely down that other end, which is closer to Alexander Parade. And there are some kebab shops there, but no, it's completely imagined.
I would love to go to the kebab shop.
It's pitched as the worst kebab shop in Collingwood, and it's really clearly not a great shop. So I don't really want to, compare it to anyone and say, I'm saying you're the worst kebab shop in all of Collingwood.
Are there any upcoming events, any future books that you're writing, anything that we can look forward to seeing?
Yeah, so I'm definitely getting around. I've never really travelled much in Australia until the last little bit, and I'm travelling everywhere. So I've got a few events coming up in August, talking at Dimmicks in Sydney. There's the George Street one with Emily there about family secrets. And then in Adelaide a few days later at the Dimmicks YA Circle there I've got an event, and I'm sort of appearing around the place and going to schools and things like that. But I've almost finished the draft of my next book.
Oh, how exciting.
Hopefully
first draft?
About second draft. Some of it's a bit sketchy still, but so I'll give it a few more goes over, and then
who knows, it might turn out to be fantastic.
Yeah, well, I'm at the point where I think it's awful, but we'll see.
All the best of luck on it.
Thank you.
Anything you can tell us that's not to the contract, but
no, it's I don't really want to talk about too much in case it is terrible and I have to put it away in a drawer for years. But it's set a suburb along from Frankie, so it's a very similar world, but there's no crossover, and it's also YA contemporary.
If you could go back in time to yourself when you were about 14 years of age, you said before, when you first found out that you wanted to be an author, and give yourself any words of advice for being an author, what would it be?
Probably, and this sounds like the biggest load of BS, but actually to be true to yourself, because I did go through a long period after university where I'd sort of lost my writerly voice because I'd tried to become what the university wanted me, how they wanted me to write, and it wasn't YA. So it took me a long time to sort of come back from that, and it was actually reading On the Jellicoe Road by Melina Marchetta that I read that and just fell completely in love and just thought, this is what I wanted to do and this is what I always planned to do, and I sort of lost my way. So I wish that I hadn't sort of had that period where I'd lost my way and just had stuck to my guns and said, no, I'm writing stories about teenagers, I'm writing in this style, but what can you do? So
before we go today, we do have a giveaway for Frankie, which is right here. So what code word do you want for this book? So
code word.
Alimani had, for people that wanted to enter, she said a game's afoot. Nicole had no politics. What do you want for this?
Maybe like where kebabs go to die. Is that too long?
Where kebabs go to die? No, that's fine.
That is the line about the shop, that it's that bad that it's where kebabs go to die. So
where
maybe that makes
sense.
Go to
die. Okay, so this book I'll be putting it as an international giveaway. Make sure if you want to enter, right down below it's where kebabs
go to die.
And I'll leave in the description how you can enter. So make sure to definitely enter, Frankie, and it's international. international, you can get this.
And I'll put my little signature in there as
a
well,
little
which is a
signature in
bit of a
there.
scribble, but I promise you it is my signature.
It is your signature. Oh, did you put it?
I haven't done it yet. I will.
Haven't
I
done it?
promise I will.
Nick, get a pen. We'll do it live here. Nick's the cameraman, and he's gonna come and do it live. He'll go get a pen. Oh yeah, we'll sign it live in the inside.
It's actually, yeah, that's the signing thing has been really the weirdest thing. I don't understand why anyone would mind disgusting little scribble in there, and some people ask
Is
for
it like
pictures.
really little?
No, it's just like a
random scribble?
It could be anything. I could be writing something really deeply offensive and no one would know.
That's a bit like Nick's signature today. He got told off for it at when he's scanning his Mikey.
Sitting on a pen.
Oh,
See, look at that.
oh, there we go. That's a good
terrible.
signature.
It's
I like it.
terrible.
I couldn't do that in every single book.
That doesn't say
That's
my
really
name.
quick.
Anyway, yeah.
So thank you so much for coming in today and doing
Thank you
this
for having
interview
me.
for me. Make sure to keep a lookout on my channel because we are doing a tag together.
Yes.
And it's called the Hamilton Books Tag. So make sure to keep a lookout for that in the next couple of months. I'm Miranda.
I'm Shivaun.
Thank you so much for watching. Frankie says bye. See you.